Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little car vlog. It's going to be kind of a touchy subject because of how influenceable, however you say it, content creators have become, especially in the car community. Throughout high school and when I was in college, I loved watching the car YouTubers. I watched TJ Hunt, Evan Shanks, Dustin Williams, TJ Hunt. I watched them all, and I liked them so much because at the time the builds they were doing was attainable by me as a high school kid or a college kid. Now with them all, it's no hate towards them because you make more money, you can do crazier things, and people love. I still love watching them, but I feel like a lot of content creators these days have kind of shifted away from doing things that's relatable to people to doing crazy things just to get views. And granted, I understand that's how they make their living and whatnot. Like, I'm just a guy with a GoPro that's driving around, making videos, talking. Watching those videos always made my day. Dustin Williams, for instance, he when I first started watching him, he had his WRX, and at the time I had a WRX as well, and I absolutely loved what he did with his car. That's what I wanted to do with my car. Hell, I did a little bit, I kind of matched my car a little bit like his to a point, and it was great. These days now they're doing crazy videos on like supercars and stuff like that, and as a everyday normal guy, I'd never be able to get to do something like that. Granted, I enjoy watching the videos of them doing it, but I still feel like they have kind of strayed away from their roots, if that makes sense. It's hard to relate with the newer age of the content creators. And then the other half, especially on the on the moto side for motorcycles and stuff, a lot of them guys kind of strayed away from doing their vlogs like they used to. I don't watch Do It With Dan much anymore. I know the one guy I liked a lot, Walterific. I don't even think he posts anymore, and it's crazy to see guys that I enjoyed so much watching kind of stray away from their original content. And and now with TikTok introduced and everything else, everything's just so jumbled. Everyone's trying to be the next greatest thing when instead they're not doing their own thing. It's definitely a weird time, especially in the car community, especially what happened after GAT. Plenty of people see some of the flaws in the car community. That's a nice Mark V Supra. I've always wanted one of those. Sorry, a little off topic. I've always wanted one of those, but I can't get one because I need a back seat because I have kids. I love the car. I love how a lot of people hate on the Mark V Supras, but I actually like them a lot. It's a great car. A lot of the guys come from either go from Civics to the Mark V or the Mark V to the Type Rs, and it's a great it's a great car. I have yet to get to drive one yet, but I definitely would love one. I know in the GR Supras they're manuals. That's the only reason why I kind of don't want to get one, because I like driving the manual. Sorry, off topic, but I just feel like content creators kind of strayed away from their original things of how they used to do things. And I get, the more money you make, the better better builds you can do, the better content you can put out there and stuff like that. You know, I understand it's life. You do YouTube for a living versus someone like me that I work in a copper mill. So, you know, I'm not making millions of dollars to be able to, you know, put out quality content like that. I can barely put out quality content as it is because I suck at talking. I hate talking. I hate hearing myself on camera. I hate hearing my voice recorded and stuff. I figured I'd start making videos to help get myself off from that kind of phobia of hearing my own voice, if that kind of makes sense. You know, I'm not trying to do, if this takes off, which I doubt it will, because you got to have spectacular videos and stuff like that, and I'm just doing this for fun. You know, if I make a video and someone relates to it and likes it and whatnot and wants to see more, great. But if no one wants to, you know, it is what it is. You know, and I feel like content creators, especially like the small content creators on like TikTok and whatnot, they really have kind of put a strain on the car community, because the takeovers that come, you know, that come with it, you know, it's just wild. Like, you know, that's what people want to see is takeovers, and I don't understand why. When I was in high school and part of my college career, you know, I remember going out to car meets and sitting in a parking lot for, you know, 2 or 3 hours just enjoying company with other people, versus, you know, shutting down a whole intersection and just watching people swing and risk my life. You know, I never once while I was sitting in a parking lot, like where I'm from, we used to go sit at an Ashley's furniture store. We'd sit there, we'd show up about 9 o'clock and sit there until about 10, and the people that wanted to go do dumb stuff would go all away from the meet, and, you know, they would race down the interstate or go to the set spots where they have the street races. And even then, with the street races, like, you know, yeah, the street was closed, but it was always in an industrial area with not much traffic. It wasn't the middle of the city shutting down a intersection and swinging there. You know, people weren't standing there smacking cars, throwing shit, lighting off fireworks. It was just people street racing. And I know how people can say, oh, that's hypocritical because it's still illegal. Yes, to a point. Yes, I understand it's still illegal to do that. But not many people got hurt while we were watching people street race, or if you raced or nothing. And when the cops came, you know, no one shut down the street to prevent the cops from getting to us. The cops came, they threw on their blue lights, everyone got in their cars and left. That was it. On to the next spot. You know, wasn't people throwing shit at cop cars, beating up you know, hitting the cop cars and setting cars on fire. There was none of that. It just blows my mind. You know, and with me being an adult and stuff now, and having to have a full-time job with a mortgage and everything, I don't get to go out to car meets as often. And when I do, I can't find anything because it's all changed because of the takeover culture. And it kills me, because cars have always been a big part of my life, and I loved it. I love working on them. I love driving around. That's what I'm doing now, just going on a random drive on a Thursday afternoon. You know, no real set destination, but, you know, I just, the main point of what I'm trying to get across is I feel like that, you know, content creators, I'm not necessarily the big ones on YouTube, but, like, you know, the smaller ones on TikTok or Instagram that promote, you know, the bad habits of the car community. Because don't get me wrong, street racing is just as bad as the takeovers and whatnot. But I'm just saying that street races were ran a little different versus how the takeovers were ran. You know, if that makes any sense to you. To me, it makes perfectly sense. And you know, and it sucks because I can barely drive. You know, about a year ago, I went to a park and I was walking my dog at the park. Well, while I was inside the park on this hiking trail, I guess there was a meet or something like that, and people were doing burnouts and revving and stuff like that. As I walked out of the park to get in my car, the cops had called the tow truck to come pick up my car, because once everyone left, my car was still there. And of course, my car looking the way it does kind of puts, you know, a target on my back at times. And the cops, when I walked up, approached them. I was like, "Can I help you guys?" They're like, "Yeah, we're about to have your car towed for being a part of the meet." I was like, "Look, man," I was like, "Look, officer, I was walking my dog in the park. I don't know these people. I was not associated with them. Luckily enough, the cop was pretty cool, and you know, my car didn't get towed, thank God. My wife at the time would have killed me if my car got towed for something stupid like that." And yeah, but it sucks, especially like with what happened in this past Gatlinburg, you know, 2 weekends ago, or however long it was. I think it was 2 weekends ago now. You know, it sucks, because what if I go down there with my kids and whatnot, and because my car's loud, it's low, you know, it's on bags, they got cambered wheels and stuff, like, will they start thinking I'm part of that kind of culture, and will I just get harassed the whole time when I'm trying to enjoy time with my kids? You know, it just sucks. And you know, and that's why I kind of feel like content creators have kind of destroyed the, you know, the gist of the car community, because everyone's just chasing that clout. They want to be the next big thing, when a lot of us just want to sit there and just hang out and talk cars and enjoy ourselves. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, I'd like to get other people's opinions on this. You know, I have my set of friends and stuff, and they for the most part agree that you know, some of the content creators, like I said, I'm not going to label all content creators bad, because there are some great content creators. There really is, and you always should go and watch their videos if that's what you like to watch. But you know, it's just the small ones on TikTok that think the takeovers are cool and destroying shit is what needs to be done, and that's not what a lot of us in the car community want. A lot of us just want to hang out and, you know, relax. I'm getting too old to, you know, chase down shit and risk my car getting impounded and whatnot just because of a bad bunch. That's why I kind of quit going out so much, because it's always something stupid at these meets. It's someone, rev it or something like that. Like, look, man, I just want to relax and chill with some friends. That's all I want. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys have a great Thursday, or whatever day it is you're watching this on. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.